Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain underwater. This film tells the story of workers trapped in the Mariana Trench and must deal with gigantic, terrifying creatures trying to kill them. Can they get out of the deepest trench in the world? Let's find out in Underwater. Underwater tells the story of the Tian Industries crew who are doing drilling and research at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. While working, they lived in a facility called Kepler 822. A mechanical engineer named Nora Price had just finished taking a shower when she noticed water dripping from the ceiling above her. Nora thought there was a pressure leak and was about to warn her friends until a great earthquake shook the place. Nora immediately ran for safety while trying to warn her friends, but too late. The earthquake had destroyed everything. Rodrigo asked Nora to close the watertight bulkhead doors quickly or they would all die. Finally, she couldn't help but close the door, leaving her friends who were still trying to save themselves. While Nora and Rodrigo were thinking of a way to call for help, the place suddenly exploded, sending both of them bouncing and unconscious. Not long after, they came back to their senses. After that, they tried to contact the control center to tell them what had happened at Kepler Station 822, but there was no answer from there. They even heard a terrifying growl. They decided to leave the facility. Nora and Rodrigo then headed to the capsule room to leave Kepler 822 station as soon as possible. But access to the capsule room was blocked by debris caused by the severe earthquake that rocked the facility. Even so, they kept trying to get through the rubble, even though they had to struggle. Inside, they encounter one of their comrades, Paul, who is crushed by the rubble. While taking the injured Paul with them, they continued their journey even though they had to crawl and see the bodies of their friends who did not survive. The three made it to the capsule room, but all the evacuation capsules were out of place and there was only their captain, Lucian, who decided to stay in the facility while waiting for his crew who might still be alive. He wanted to determine the cause of the pressure leak that caused more than 70% of the damage to the Kepler 822 station. Nora and the others then head to the control room and meet biologist Emily and another technician named Smith. Emily and Smith said they had repeatedly tried to contact the control center on the surface, but to no avail. Nora checked all the damage at the Kepler 822 station. The entire upper deck had collapsed and the cooling tower was also damaged. She confirmed that Kepler 822's core power source was unstable and the entire facility would be destroyed in 30 minutes. Because the Sheffard station, which was quite close to Kepler 822, had been destroyed, Captain Lucian then suggested that they all go to Roebuck 641, which is a mile from Kepler 822 station, by walking on the seabed in pressurized suits. The crew seemed to be undecided by the captain's suggestion. The reason is, they heard a strange growl that did not come from humans through the last transmission from the drilling site. However, even if they stayed here, they would also die when Kepler was completely destroyed. Finally, they all decided to go to Roebuck 641, risking their lives walking at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. After everyone put on pressure suits and carried weapons, they left using the freight elevator. However, while in the elevator, Rodrigo's helmet suddenly cracked, and when the elevator doors opened, his body exploded under the pressure of the water. Rodrigo had noticed that his helmet had cracked a bit before putting it on, and he had deliberately sacrificed himself so that his friends would be safe. Nora and the others were forced to continue their journey without Rodrigo. Shortly after, they got an emergency signal from the evacuation capsule below them. Paul and Smith decided to check the capsule, hoping that any of their comrades had survived. However, the capsule was badly damaged and they only found the body of another crew member in the rubble. While checking the corpse, suddenly a strange creature appeared and attacked Paul. Luckily, Smith managed to kill it and brought the creature's carcass to the capsule station. Arriving there, Emily immediately examined the creature's carcass, which was apparently still able to respond with movement when she touched its nerve center. The creature, that resembles an octopus, has no eyes and no mouth. Emily said that the creature may be a new species that slipped out because Kepler 822 drilled too deep to punch holes in the hydrothermal pocket of the Mariana Trench. Suddenly, the entire system in the capsule station shuts down and things are pitch black. After that, something big seemed to be trying to destroy the small station. Loud clashes occurred here and there, along with the appearance of the huge tentacles they saw through the window. Not yet escaping the attack of the massive tentacled creature, they must face another horror as the Kepler 822 above their station has exploded. They immediately headed to the access tunnel to save themselves from being buried by the debris of Kepler 822. But Smith was hit by the debris while trying to save himself. Luckily, Nora and Lucian managed to save him so that everyone survived and continued on to the intermediate station to charge and clean their pressurized clothes. However, the air filter inside Smith's clothes was damaged due to being hit by the debris. Because the puddles in the access tunnel were getting higher and higher, they finally decided to continue the journey on foot. Meanwhile, outside the tunnel, the mysterious creature can be heard still following them. At the end of the tunnel, the access road is somewhat covered with rubble. Nora, who was the smallest in body, ventured to go first and check things out. It turned out that the access road was wide enough for her friends to pass. Nora asked them all to go through one by one. Paul, who was the only person who had not passed the access road, suddenly shouted when he saw something. His friends immediately tried to pull Paul, but a mysterious creature managed to drag him into the water and kill the man. Nora and the others immediately left from there so as not to fall prey to these creatures. Before they exited the access tunnel, they checked for damage to Smith's air filter, which was beyond repair. If the oxygen filter didn't work, Smith would suffocate from the toxic fumes of the Kepler 822 explosion. Smith then told everyone to continue their journey without him, because he didn't want to burden his friends. But Captain Lucian didn't want to lose the rest of his crew, nor did Nora and Emily. Finally, the three of them agreed to help Smith walk on the seabed. Walking at the bottom of the deepest trench in the world is probably a valuable experience that not many people get to experience. But in reality, this does not rule out the fact that real danger lies ahead with lives at stake. After only a few steps, they had been disturbed by the creatures that inhabited the cold and dark seabed. The strange creature attacks by trying to destroy Nora's helmet. She thought that their flashlights might attract the attention of the creatures that inhabit the bottom of the Mariana Trench, thus attacking them. They turned off their flashlights and continued their journey in the dark. Shortly after, suddenly a humanoid creature appeared and dragged Smith into an underwater cave. Captain Lucian managed to save him, but he and Nora were dragged away by the mysterious creature. Nora manages to free herself, but just as she tries to help the captain, the humanoid tries to destroy her helmet. Captain Lucian then attacked the creature by beating it repeatedly. The mysterious creature eventually fell to the bottom of the cave, but it could drag along Captain Lucian. The captain then asked Nora to release herself to not be dragged along because an increase in pressure would trigger an explosion. But Nora doesn't want to let go of her captain, until Lucian finally sacrifices himself to keep Nora and the others safe. Lucian, who fell in the depths, finally exploded and the explosion separated Nora from her friends. Nora, who was knocked unconscious by the explosion, finally regains consciousness and wakes up at Sheffard's station alone. She decided to rest there for a while. While rummaging through Lucian's locker for something still usable, she finds a pentagram drawn on dark blueprints from the initial drilling site in the Mariana Trench. She then tried to contact Emily and Smith, but got no answer. She then changed into her damaged wetsuit, before continuing on to Roebuck 641. Nora walked alone on the seabed in the dark and relied solely on a small flashlight for light. As she got closer to Roebuck, she heard Emily's voice through the communication device inside the outfit. Sure enough, she finally reunited with Emily, accompanying Smith because he was getting tired from the lack of oxygen. They then dragged Smith's body until they finally arrived at Roebuck Station. Arriving at Roebuck, they were surprised to find a nest of giant humanoid creatures hanging from the station's roof. Nora and Emily then turned off their flashlights so they could sneak in. When the capsule station was only a few meters away, Emily's oxygen alarm suddenly sounded and woke the humanoid creatures. The creatures immediately attacked them. Emily and Smith make it to the capsule station, while Nora must fight back against the onslaught of the humanoid creature. One of the large humanoid creatures nearly swallowed her alive, but she managed to fire the flare gun while part of her body was still inside the creature and managed to kill it. As Nora fired another flare into the distance, she saw a creature far bigger and sinister than the humanoid creatures that had attacked her. The creature is Cthulhu, an ancient titan who rules the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Cthulhu, whose form is a combination of an octopus, a dragon, and also resembles a human. After learning that someone had slipped through its lair, Cthulhu immediately attacked the intruders. Luckily, Nora and the others made it to Roebuck Station before the oxygen supply in their wetsuits ran out, but Cthulhu continued to stalk them from outside the station. Nora and her colleagues managed to locate the evacuation capsule, but there are only 2 capsules that can be used. After helping Smith up the evacuation capsule, Nora urges Emily to take the other capsule despite Emily's insistence on staying with her. But Nora wants her 2 comrades alive, and ends up launching an evacuation capsule that will take Emily and Smith soaring to the surface of the ocean. However, Emily and Smith's escape using an evacuation capsule turns out to be attracting the attention of smaller humanoid creatures. Seeing swarms of humanoid creatures chasing her friends, Nora decides to blow up Roebuck Station 641 by increasing the nuclear power of Roebuck's core and activating it in 60 seconds. Nora accepts her destiny to sacrifice herself so that Emily and Smith can reach sea level safely. The entire 641 Roebuck Station was blown to pieces, killing Nora Price, Cthulhu and the other humanoid creatures that inhabit the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Emily and Smith managed to survive and stay alive. After the underwater incident that killed many people, Tian Industries refused to clarify and cooperated with the authorities for investigations related to the accident at the Mariana Trench drilling site. They simply dismissed it as a work accident and prepared to rebuild and expand their Mariana Trench drilling efforts. The film ends.